No better car to start with than, of course, in the Oldsmobiles, the Cutlass Supreme, which is the #1 selling car for Olds Division, has been since '75, and in 1983 was the #1 selling car for the Olds Division. This is a 1984 Cutlass Calais. Now this particular car here is unique in that in 1985 there will be no Cutlass Calais based on a rear-wheel drive body shell. But some of the selling features of the Calais are important to make your customer aware of. But more importantly than that, the Cutlass Supreme in and of itself has features that have to be explained to every customer. First of all, the looks of the car as you see it here are the same looks that have existed since 1981, 82, 83, and 84. What they did in 1981 was that they redesigned the car. They had at that time completed their air tunnel, or I should say their lab for doing wind tunnel testing, and they reshaped the front of the car. What you have in the styling of the car here is what we call a shovel nose design. The shovel nose design lowers the front profile of the car so you have better aerodynamics. On the top here we have a fiberglass cap, on the bottom a urethane covering and cap. What the urethane is designed to do is that it's to be resistant to low-speed impacts. You can take the urethane cap and pull on it like that with your customers to point out how resilient it is. Also, it keeps costs low for insurance and for repair coverage because this is all one piece, and because there's no trim affixed to it, you don't have small pieces that have to be assembled and charged to you in your insurance recovery if the car should be damaged. But an important point of the front end design again is its low sloping design for better aerodynamics. Of course, it retains the classic Oldsmobile styling cues, which are your waterfall grille and your separation of grille. But more importantly than that, the urethane coupled with the fiberglass and a strong front bumper system not only give the car a very sleek appearance, but it also gives the car an appearance that's going to look good for years. Also contributing to the styling and good looks of the car over the term of ownership when you have the car is the fact you have the swing-away grille panels, which again are designed to respond to low-speed impacts and then spring back so your customers don't come out and say, for instance, if someone were to back into the car, see their grille smashed away. Also, an important feature in the safety of the car is that with this low-sloping grille, a pedestrian is a lot safer. Of course, no one wants to run a pedestrian over, but you might point over that the grille in the front end of the car is designed to help the pedestrian go on top of the car, not be pulled under, which makes it a lot safer for the car being used. It's just a nice little positive statement that you can make in regards to the car. Now, a number of features on the Calais are different than the Supreme, and we'll pull a Supreme up here and give you an idea of the differences. But unique to the Calais are, on the headlight surrounds, you have black inside here, and on the turn signal lamps, a very distinctive yellow. The grille texture on the Calais is entirely different from the Cutlass Supreme and is unique to the car. Now, the Calais has its own identification, its own markings, and is a very unique car. In essence, what the Calais is the sporty version of the Cutlass. You might want to know the history of the name Calais. Calais came from Cadillac. They had used the name Calais up until about 1973, and then it became an Oldsmobile name. So Calais connotes, or I should say, Calais expresses luxury, sportiness, and distinctiveness of which this car embodies all of those. If we walk over to the side of the car here, you'll notice that the Calais, much like the Brougham, contains the lower body chrome molding as well as the wheel lip molding. But you might want to point out to your customers that the 1984 Calais also has a new chrome super stock wheel. On this super stock wheel is a new design, which is a traditional Oldsmobile setup, but the new design uses chrome and black to give the car a more sporty, more of a road touring look. Also, you have on the wheels themselves Tiger Paw tires from Uniroyal, which on the Calais, remember the Calais is set up to be a sportier version of the Cutlass. So when you are ordering the Calais, or when a customer is buying a Calais, point out to them that standard on the Calais are heavy-duty suspension, the F41 package, upgraded tires, and overall a much firmer ride than you would ordinarily find in a Cutlass. It contributes to the car's better handling and overall feel on the road. Let's right now concentrate on what's underneath the hood. But you see what I've done. What I've pointed out to you are some very, very important benefits, some significant features. I've taken the car from being just an attractive black car to a very special car, which is a Cutlass Calais. Now, when I go to open up the hood, I would direct my customer, if you would please, wait right there. I want to show you something very special. Inside we have the hood release, and it's a two-stage release. The two-stage release is designed to eliminate the possibility of the hood flying up when you're, say, on the freeway. And if you were to accidentally open it up, it eliminates the possibility of this flying up and creating damage. It's an important safety feature and has been on all General Motors cars with an inside latch to eliminate theft since 1971. The latch is always to the left. You'll find this to be true in almost all of the Oldsmobiles and almost all of the Chryslers. Latch to the left, pull up, and pull up the hood. One of the biggest features you can point out to your customers is the fact that there's no prop rod on the car. They use coil springs to hold up the hood, and this allows you to get in and work on the engine without a support rod getting in your way. Also, you'll find that they incorporate an insulation pad inside. The lighting, I think, will probably diminish your ability to see this, but that pad eliminates heat coming back through the sheet metal. Also, it quiets down the engine noise. A very, very important feature of Oldsmobile is this. Oldsmobile was the first division to incorporate into General Motors when General Motors was a founding company. This goes back to the early 1900s. A part of Oldsmobile's, and this is an extremely important selling feature, a part of Oldsmobile's incorporation into General Motors required that Oldsmobile would have the final say on the way their cars are produced and delivered to their customers. This car might have on it a little Oldsmobile sticker. It doesn't. But I'll point out to you on a car that does have it, there's an OK Oldsmobile, a red sticker with yellow lettering that says the car has met Oldsmobile standard for quality control. Not Fisher Body, not General Motors, but Oldsmobile standard for quality control. This is why Oldsmobiles traditionally have a higher resale value, number one. Number two, have a lower frequency of repair than any other car. And number three, have a perceived value that is, I would say, very close to Cadillac. And as time goes on, more people will see a benefit to Oldsmobile because of their affordability. But now that we've opened up the hood, we've pointed out some of the standard features on the car, it's time to show the engine and give a feature presentation on the engine. Now remember what we've been discussing. Nothing is as boring as having someone come out here and tell you all the technical details of an engine, and you really don't want to hear the technical details. All you want to know is this. Number one, it's the 3.8 V6 engine, which has been an engine available in the Cutlass since 1978. The 3.8 V6 has a number of very special features unique to the car that contribute to great fuel economy and incredible drivability. Number one, the 3.8 V6 uses a computer command center. The computer command center was very proudly introduced in 1981 as a feature to help with the emission controls. But the computer command center is, as it says, it's a computer that commands not only the drivability of the car, but when the transmission will shift and how much emissions are going through the catalytic converter. It's a three-stage control system for the catalytic converter. But more importantly than that, it eliminates the cold starting problems in the morning. It monitors the air-fuel mixture so the car gets incredibly good fuel economy. And three, provides a service function. When you bring the car in for service, they can plug into your car, and literally the car tells the technician, this is what I need to have done, check these areas. It's very sophisticated, state-of-the-art, and standard on all gasoline engines produced by General Motors. Now, as I mentioned, it's standard on all gasoline motors produced and built by General Motors. To say that really isn't serving your purposes too well. Remember, you're here to sell this car. What you might mention is that this Oldsmobile has Oldsmobile's computer command center, which is an onboard computer to improve the drivability and to lower the emissions of the car. Monitors the air-fuel mixture as well as improves the drivability. The computer command center has a hookup underneath the dashboard in this car to the left side, is mounted on the right kick panel inside the car if your customer should ask you where it is. The 3.8 V6 engine, of course, is built by the Buick division and supplied to all GM divisions under GM's corporate plans for availability of power plants. Now, we've covered the engine. 3.8 V6 is 20 around town, 30 on the freeway. It has a number of important features in 84 which you want to point out. It has the Delco Freedom battery. It's maintenance free. You don't put water into it. It's sealed at the factory. That's located right here. Point this out to the customer. I've always made a big deal out of all of these features because this is right here about a $14,000 car. If you're going to spend $14,000 for a car, you're going to want to know why this car is special. Something like the battery, the fact it has a heavy-duty coolant overflow system, windshield washer reservoir that's conveniently located on the side where you'll most frequently find water connections at a gas station. It has a purge tank for the emission control. It also has a new feature introduced from General Motors in 1984, which is that they've color-coded areas that need service. For instance, if you need to check your oil, you look into the engine compartment. The oil stick, which is located on the right, drip oil everywhere, Neil, is a yellow coating. It has rubber around it, so you don't burn your hand if the engine is hot. Very conveniently located. This feature on the right over here is the smog pump that's inside the engine compartment. Of course, the smog pump recirculates the air that comes from the crankcases, required in the state of California, also required in the other 49 states, but is a little bit different design because of our requirements for emission control. Of course, on the left on the top of the engine is your generator, and then your air conditioning is directly to the left of that. It says GM Harrison. A point you want to make out about GM air conditioning is this. General Motors introduced the Harrison air conditioning in the middle of the 1950s. The Harrison air conditioning is important because it was designed in conjunction with the frigid air division of General Motors. Therefore, not only does it provide air conditioning, but it's got a special design so it's not constantly drawing power off the engine. In fact, it has a design with a special clutch, which was introduced in 1982, that it will gain momentum when it senses that it no longer needs to draw power off of the engine. A clutch engages that lets it freewheel, so you're not constantly pulling power and gasoline from your engine. A GM exclusive, available on this Cutlass Supreme. Again, heavy-duty engine coolant recovery system here. You never open up the radiator. It's sealed at the factory because the newer engines run at a higher temperature for your emission controls. Now, an important part of showing any particular car in the inventory is to, besides giving information, if we were asking or working with your customers, you said, how are you now driving a V8 engine? Do you have any idea whether you would want to continue with a V8 engine, V6, or most commonly, a person will express to you that they don't think that this V6 engine is going to provide enough power. No way. This engine here, the 3.8 V6, is a preferred choice in 80% of all of the fleet company orders and has been the engine in 90% of all of the cars that we ordered. When you close the hood, point out to your customers that as another feature of the way they have engineered this car to eliminate your hands getting slammed into the hood area like that, all General Motors cars contain a center rub strip for you putting the hood down. Take the palm of your hand and go, and that locks the hood. Again, all of these little details are designed not only to make it easier for your customer to own the car, but to add to the value of the car down the road. You know, another important feature that you might want to point out to your customers is that the aerodynamic styling of the car also make it very easy to wash. To take care of the car, to keep up the look, you don't have to deal with a great deal of different nooks and crannies. This is an important feature of the American approach to design, because a lot of the imports like to go in for cutouts into the body panels, very deep gouges, etc. These things are hard to keep clean when you're taking care of your car, because you got to get in there and rub them out. This is an easy car to live with, take care of, and I'd like to show you some of the features inside of the interior of the car. We're now in the interior of the car, and to make you a little bit more familiar about the kind of cars that we have, and I constantly reminded of how much product that you want. Well, let's do a little history right now. This car right here, when I roll up the windows, As a feature, General Motors introduced in 1949. In fact, in 1949, they introduced the Holiday 88 Coupe along with the Cadillac and brought to the American buying public something that never existed before: hardtop styling. A hardtop means that when you roll up the glass in a car, there is no metal framing around the window. Of course, in days gone by, when the rear windows rolled down, what this would do is it would give you the impression or illusion that you were driving a convertible, but in the same sense you had all of the protection and all of the security of a roofed car with a hardtop with a steel metal design. Now, on the Cutlass Supreme rear-wheel drive car, this is an important feature because it allows the car to be available with an optional T-top design. But as we had learned, again in 1981, the Oldsmobile division introduced the restyled Cutlass Supreme. You have the base Cutlass Supreme, the Cutlass Supreme Brougham, and the Cutlass Supreme Calais. You don't call it a Supreme Calais, it is the Cutlass Calais. So I was pointing out to you, the car embodies hardtop styling. What I wanted you to understand is that as a body-on-frame car with body-on-frame construction, something that you're going to have to bring out to your customers' attention is that unlike the Mercury Cougar, unlike the Ford Thunderbird, unlike just about everything else in the marketplace, this car still contains the traditional virtues of body-on-frame construction, where the body of the car, the roof, the sides, the doors, lowered to the frame of the car and secured together. What this does is not only gives you a better ride quality, but it insulates noise and provides for a stronger chassis. Now this car is a hardtop two-door car. Again, there's no framing around the doors, so the car can be considered a traditional hardtop. You have the long doors, which facilitate getting out and making it a lot easier. A feature that's unique on the car is that there are no releases for the seat backs. They work on an inertia reel. What an inertia reel is that when the car should come to an abrupt stop, or if unfortunately is involved in an accident, the seat belt itself will lock into place. It will stop and retain the driver from going forward. Right now, General Motors is providing $10,000 to any injured party or any person who should lose their life in an accident if they should be wearing a seatbelt harness arrangement like this. Now this Calais again will be in production for the balance of '84, but will be replaced in 1985 by a new front-wheel drive model that is called the N-Car. As I pointed out earlier, the car has a leather-wrapped steering wheel, the high-back bucket seats with standard recliners which work by pulling up, and they are both on the driver and passenger side. The standard Cutlass Calais console, which also has a vinyl-covered armrest and storage area in the middle. And the car also has some very unique options on it, which you should know about in 1984. Of course, it has a tilt wheel, which is always on the left side, behind the turn signal and wiper washer stock on the car. To discuss the wiper washer stock, let me just explain this. To bring all controls to a very common place in the car, the engineers have designed what used to be just a turn signal stock to provide many different functions for the customer. It works as a high-low beam when you pull it towards you. It works as a blinker when you push it to the right, to up for right, down for left. It also has the wiper controls on it, which work by rotation. Turning it towards the front of the car allows you to turn it onto a high or low position, or if you have the optional pulse wiper system, to time the delay. The washer itself is a rather large piece of chrome sticking out of the turn signal stock that works by pushing forward. Push it forward, water shoots out, and it's the new pulse system that works by spraying at a timed interval onto the windshield a certain pattern of windshield cleaner. Not only does it distribute itself over the windshield a little bit more evenly, but it will also pick up a little grit and dirt so your windshield's not scratched. There is a feature pointed out to your customer. You've also got the new cruise control for 1984, which besides having an on, set, and a resume, has a resume accelerate. The resume accelerate allows you to accelerate the car at 1 mile per hour intervals simply by pushing in on the cruise control stalk on the steering column. Now, a feature of the Cutlass Calais, or all of the Cutlasses, that's important to point out, is the fact that of all of the General Motors G cars, of which this is a G car, the Oldsmobile Cutlass Supreme has the most conservative and the best laid out dash. You have gauges available, and the readability of the dashboard is very, very good. You can see all of your major functions and controls without too much difficulty, and for the widest variety of drivers, you can also be able to see your speedometer, your fuel gauge, without a great deal of adjustment of the seat. Now, a feature that I think is terribly important in the Cutlass Supreme is the fact that General Motors, through their Delco radio divisions, have introduced a number of very, very fine stereos, and as we explore the options available in the General Motors cars, you'll see that they have perhaps the best sound quality and rival many of the very best aftermarket radios available on the marketplace. But again, this car here meets Oldsmobile standards, which are Code 308 within GM for quality and design construction, but also take a great deal of pride and point out to your customers that this General Motors car has body by Fisher. The Fisher brothers, who were a coach building company back in the 1800s, or I should say Fisher Body now, is the largest engineering, design, and research facility for automobile manufacture of any group in the world. To have the stamp body by Fisher incorporates not only a tradition but a philosophy which puts the best possible products into the buyer's hands. And a couple of other features you'll want to point out is that to the back of the door area and incorporated through the paneling inside the doors here is your flow-through ventilation system. What that allows is that it allows air to circulate out of the car. When the car is on, a fan will automatically turn on, which will circulate air through the car, and then it's ducted through these side panels, and then it's put out through the trunk. That's to eliminate any possibility of carbon monoxide building up inside the car, but the flow-through ventilation keeps the air fresh and clean inside the car and makes it a lot more comfortable. It's a nice plus feature in the GM cars. Also, all of the GM cars have a double yaw lock system, which not only secures and keeps the door closed without locking it, but when you do lock it, provides that additional amount of protection that protects and saves lives in an accident. Now, General Motors cars have the best record for safety of any vehicles in the marketplace. That's because General Motors and the Oldsmobile division spend a great deal of time and money researching the safety of their cars. A number of features that you'd want to point out for the safety in the cars are the side guard beams built into every door area in the General Motors car, controlled crush rear and front design, special laminated glass that's designed to reduce the amount of injury if someone should unfortunately strike it, and both of the side glasses are a tempered glass that's resistant to shattering. All of the General Motors cars, as well as all of the Chrysler cars, I should make that point a statement of all American manufacturers, go through a rollover stage. That means that this beautiful car here in its testing stages is taken down a road at a speed of about 45 miles an hour. It's placed on a ramp and it's flipped over. One of the requirements of that flipping over is that that car cannot have any more than 1.5 inches deformation when it comes to a stop. Not only does that... Hi. He's our resident Corvette expert. No. What that does is that it eliminates the amount of crush zone in the car so your passengers are protected. A very glaring example of when this isn't a very important priority is the fact that if you go and take a look at the lots of where they tow accidents, cars that are wrecked in an accident, you'll see a lot of the import cars are absolutely destroyed in a situation where you think there shouldn't be that much structural damage at all. In fact, we're going to take a walk over there shortly, and I'm going to show you some of the differences of American design versus the imports. But importantly on this car here, with the body-on-frame construction and with the GM Fisher body design and approach, it's not only an excellent value, but the car holds up for a long time, and down the road it's going to return an excellent trade-in value.
Thank you very much.
I think what's really important in the work that we're achieving right now in regards to selling the automobiles is that, of course, we have to express a certain amount of enthusiasm. I feel very, very strongly that it's not hard to get enthusiastic about the particular cars and products that you represent, when you know that they're all #1, they're top sellers for the market that they're designed for. A big reason for the Cutlass's superiority in the sales is, of course, the design of the car. As you can see right now, from front to rear, the car contains all of the classic elements that people look for in a General Motors car. It has the formal roofline, it has the half Landau design, the little opera windows on the side, of course, the classic formal roofline of the Oldsmobiles, and the design of the roof is such that it wraps around the exterior of the roof here, and it adds an important feature that a lot of people question when it comes time to point out that the car has a vinyl roof. A lot of people are terribly concerned that vinyl roofs will deteriorate, fade, or diminish as time goes on. What you have to point out to the customer on the Oldsmobiles is that the design that they use allows one piece to be stretched completely around the car, and then it's seamed underneath here, and it's secured right here. That eliminates water or rust or deformation to occur because it's all completely sealed. This eliminates the possibility of rust. You can have this nice vinyl roof, which adds to the attractiveness of the car, but you don't have to worry about the end results of it not lasting the test of time. Also, starting in 1976, General Motors started using an entirely different type of vinyl material which is designed to be resistant to ultraviolet deterioration. This may not seem important right now, but as time goes on in regards to showing you the different features of these cars, you'll see that this plays an important feature in the benefits that our cars have against import competition. But always remember this when it comes to the Cutlass Supreme, and whether or not you're working with a Supreme or the Calais. This car is #1. It's the #1 selling car, and it's the #1 in the used car market. A Cutlass Supreme is going to return a traditionally high resale value that's unmatched by anything in the marketplace. And it has to do with the quality of the car, the way the car is built, and that fact that down the road, as you own the car and you enjoy it, it provides you with miles of comfort and relaxation, but also trouble-free driving, and that's an important feature of this particular car, and it lends itself to the other features of the cars that we'll get into as we discuss the other types of products available. Also, you might want to point out that the Cutlass Supreme has a very large trunk. We'll show you that in just a moment, but this large trunk gives you the room to provide luggage space for 5 passengers inside the car, but also is designed in the sense of this car here to lend a formal styling direction for the car in its overall theme. A traditional Oldsmobile feature, as time has passed by, has always to give an emphasis to the rear design as well as the taillights. This actually started in 1948 and 49 with the little rocket taillights, but this is incorporated in the Oldsmobile design right now and is an Oldsmobile tradition and lends itself to Oldsmobile's popularity. Now we're working at the rear of the car, and the classic styling cues that I was reminding you of can be turned into a selling feature when you're discussing the car. Again, you point out, because of the traditional styling cues, the car is obviously very attractive, but more importantly than that, it maintains what's called a high profile. Designers know that these kind of cars here are usually used a lot as transportation on trips and for business use. This high visibility, this high area of trunk contributes to the amount of space available in the trunk for carrying luggage. But more importantly than that, just on the exterior sheet metal, it lends the Oldsmobiles to have the high output tail lamps. Introduced in 1972 on the Pontiac Firebird was a new design on the tail lights that allowed the entire area of the tail light to generate and show light. Now, this may not seem like an important feature right now, but when you're discussing and selling the car, point out the fact that the Oldsmobile Cutlass Supreme has the high visibility taillights that work in conjunction with the backup lights. At night, when you're backing into a parking stall with your rear backup lights, and by touching the brake, you have a tremendous amount of light shining so you can see exactly where the rear of the car is. Also, this high back design here lets you see the corners and the points of reference for backing up so you can see where the car is. This again is a feature that Oldsmobile designs into its car because it's a tradition that you'll always find in the Oldsmobile car, as well as the center ridge right here, so you know where the car is in relationship to the driving. Now, of course, when you open up the trunk, you'll find that trunk is not only nicely finished, it might be a little bit dark right now, but it contains a number of really important features that lend credibility to GM's design and engineering. For instance, if you want to replace a bulb inside your backup light, they've designed into your back taillight and tail lamp design, and this is incorporated in the tail lamp as well. It's called an easy access panel. Let me get this one here. Not so easy if you're not strong, but there we go. These are little plastic retainers. Saves you money down the road. Again, why the fleet and leasing companies love these cars. They're easy to work on. 2 little threaded screws, plastic caps right in the rear of the car that allow you to take this panel off and very easily replace that back tail lamp. Also, say someone bangs into this and messes it up. You're not talking expensive repair and replacements costs. All of this has been engineered into the design of the car to keep the cost of ownership low. An important selling feature. Now, of course, I don't recommend that you take the effort I've taken here and take this apart to show your customer. But point this out to them, that the car is designed to keep maintenance costs low. Take apart rear assembly here for your backup lights. Again, the urethane cap bumpers at the rear for low-speed impacts, and a full steel bumper underneath with bumper guards to protect the rear of the car in parking situations. You know, I have always found it an incredible advantage GM has had that they can design very, very attractive cars, good-looking designs, and they look good year after year because protection is designed into them. Now, starting in 1973, all domestic cars had to have 2.5-mile-an-hour bumpers at the front. In 1975, they had to have 5-mile-an-hour bumpers front and rear. This car here is a victim of bureaucracy in that, as effective middle of 1983, companies no longer had to put impactors into the bumper system. So what had been a 5-mile-an-hour bumper up front, 5-mile-an-hour bumper up in the rear here, is now 2.5 front and rear. Be very careful when you're given a product presentation on these cars that you know exactly what the bumper system of each car is designed to handle. Now, you may not want to bring this up. You may want to say it's an energy-absorbing bumper system. However, if a customer does ask you whether or not this car has a 5-mile-an-hour bumper front or rear, it does not. They have taken out the shock absorbers and have simply put in